Hi everyone, and thanks for checking out our research. Dr. Roslin and I had originally submitted an abstract really geared as a research proposal for this conference, and we're excited to present some of our initial results. Now, as background, the surgical treatment of epilepsy has grown as an established therapy for refractory epilepsy disorders in the last couple of decades. Despite the evidence of epilepsy surgery's efficacy, though, it has been really underutilized with only about 1% of the drug-resistant patient population receiving it. One cause is that cited in the literature surrounds how these surgical procedures are continually perceived by patient populations as an intervention of last resort. While a large proportion of providers view the status of epilepsy surgery to be inaccurate. But no one had really taken the time to double check what specifically was being said when authors cite last resort statuses in the literature. Therefore, we conducted a meta-analysis via utilizing academic research engines by searching for epilepsy surgery and last resort. All those quotes identified were contextualized to determine, among other factors, what treatment it was referring to and how the phrase was being used overall. As we get into our categorizations of the last resort status, we really consistently saw four functions of the phrase, these being cited on the left. Now, taking a look at the chart on our right, we can see the phrase was mostly used to describe that epilepsy surgery was a last resort, while it's used the least number of times in the opposing function. And then really, if we break down each column into the percentage of times each treatment modality was referenced by that category, we see how ES is a last resort, that category, had a decent spread and a variety amongst treatments it's referencing. However, we can see how the most recent functions of the phrase, the other three, don't really have this variety, and the functions are citing epilepsy surgery unspecifically. Now, given these results, we want to posit the question of how epilepsy surgery is being framed in the academic literature. What this may signal is that scholars have stated how epilepsy surgeries are not considered a last resort, but in doing so, they're making a blanketed statement without nuance or of the pros and cons and the risks and benefits, right? This may, in terms of a neurosurgical and a neuroethical perspective, this may gloss over the risks of each of these procedures and neglect some of the truly last resort procedures, such as the disconnective procedures, the functional hemispherotomies. This leaves us with like a scarecrow-like argument in which justifying the inclusion of epilepsy surgery is really a no-brainer. So, given the efficacy of contemporary neurosurgical interventions, what really may be needed is framing epilepsy surgery as questions of, ethically speaking, when and via which surgical intervention, instead of just if or if not surgery. Well, we'd like to acknowledge OHSU's neurosurgery department, and I'd personally like to thank Dr. Frederick Gilbert for his continued supervision of my graduate work. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the meeting.